Can you imagine the gut punch moment when everything goes wrong at the worst possible time? That's exactly what happened to me, right in the middle of a high-stakes video call with a billion-dollar client pitching a cybersecurity package that I'd poured my heart into for months. The screen froze, not just a little stutter, but the kind of glitch that makes your stomach lurch and your palms sweat. There I was, frozen on the screen, mouth gaping like a stunned goldfish, looking utterly ridiculous. My client, clearly unimpressed, bailed after the third agonizing interruption. I didn't just lose a pitch that day, I lost a $50,000 contract, a deal I'd nurtured like a fragile seedling, all because my internet decided to take an unannounced nap. How could this happen to me? Fuming, I stormed into my living room, clutching my router like it was the culprit, muttering every technical curse I knew under my breath. That's when I glanced at my download monitor and nearly choked spikes like a heart attack chart. Someone or something was bleeding my bandwidth dry, sucking the life out of my connection. My heart raced as I dug deeper, and then I saw it. Multiple unfamiliar devices hooked onto my network, all tracing back to one shocking source, my own roof. I whispered to myself, my voice trembling with disbelief. What in the freshly microwaved hell is going on up there? That moment, that single spark of outrage, ignited a war I never saw coming. I live in one of those eerily quiet HOA communities, the kind that's too clean for its own good, where neighbors flash fake smiles while secretly plotting complaints. You know, the type: clipboard warriors, sneaky note droppers, and that one woman who thinks her petunias are her entire personality. But even in this obsessively manicured neighborhood where people measure lawn height with rulers, I wasn't ready for the audacity I found on my rooftop. Climbing up, my heart pounding, I nearly fell off the ladder when I saw them. 3 massive, professionally installed Wi-Fi repeaters bolted right into my roof tiles. They were humming smugly, their lights blinking like greedy little goblins, shamelessly siphoning my hard-earned high-speed internet. Who had the nerve to do this? At first, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a city utility project or some community initiative. But no, there were no signs, no permissions, not even one of those tacky, passive-aggressive flyers with terrible clip art stuck to my door. Just this unauthorized tech squatting on my roof like it owned the place. My blood boiled as I grabbed my phone, snapping pictures and recording video, my hands shaking with fury. I marched straight to the HOA office, ready to unleash a scene that would make reality TV producers jealous. There she was, Karen Davenport, the self-proclaimed queen of the HOA, perched behind her desk like she was ruling a courtroom instead of a sad little office with a bowl of expired peppermints. Clad in a pastel cardigan, she wore that infuriating look of someone who thinks they're untouchable. I stormed in, phone clutched tightly, but before I could get a word out, she flashed a serene smile. "Oh, the nerve," and said, yes, Mr. Eli. We were meaning to let you know about the new community connectivity program. We've installed Wi-Fi boosters on key rooftops in the neighborhood. You've been selected as one of our central hubs." Selected? As if I'd won some grand prize instead of having my property hijacked. I demanded to know when I'd agreed to this. Last I checked, my roof wasn't up for public lease. Karen, cool as a cucumber in a snowstorm, slid a piece of paper across the desk like it was some sacred contract. I glanced at it, my eyes narrowing. A general notice, printed on cheap paper, dated 3 months ago, and get this, never delivered to me. It wasn't even mailed. Apparently, it had been tacked to a dusty corkboard behind the HOA building, right next to the dumpster. Karen had the gall to claim that my lack of response implied consent. Consent? Are you kidding me? When I called her logic laughable, borderline legally insane, she just chuckled and said, "Oh, Eli, you're such a tech guy. You'll be fine. Oh, Karen, you have no idea what you've just unleashed." That's when it hit me like a lightning bolt. One, Karen had no clue what I actually did for a living. And two, I was about to become her worst nightmare. I'm not just some neighborhood nerd. Oh no. I used to design classified network security protocols for government contractors, and now I consult for companies that shell out more for a single firewall than Karen probably earns in a year. I track digital breaches for fun, the guy corporations call when some hacker halfway across the globe tries to infiltrate their systems through a printer port. And this woman, thought she could piggyback her HOA's Wi-Fi repeater system onto my personal network like it was a free buffet. Game on, Karen. I walked out of that office without a word, not because I was defeated, but because I was just getting started. My heart pounded with a mix of rage and excitement as I dove into the first step, surveillance. I had to know how deep this betrayal ran. I traced every MAC address leeching off my network, mapped their bandwidth usage over time, and built a report so detailed it could have starred in a tech thriller. What I found made my jaw drop to the floor. Over a dozen households were siphoning my signal, streaming movies, gaming, uploading obscene amounts of data. One guy was even mining crypto on my network crypto. The entire eastern side of the neighborhood was using my house as their personal data hub, freeloading off my connection like digital parasites. And the kicker? They'd wired those repeaters directly into my power lines, stealing my electricity too. How dare they? I stared at the data, my eyes wide, then glanced out at the deceptively calm, sun-drenched suburb. A laugh bubbled up slow, disbelieving, then downright manic. These people had no idea who they were messing with. They probably thought I'd just unplug the cables and call it quits, maybe grumble and file a complaint that would sit in a drawer for 6 months. Oh, how wrong they were. I wasn't going to let this slide. I was going to hit them where it hurt most, their wallets, their precious TikTok streams, their HOA-sanctioned sense of order. They wanted my bandwidth. They were going to pay for every single byte, and I meant that literally. With a fire in my chest, I fired up my laptop, cracked my knuckles, and started crafting the most gloriously passive-aggressive splash page in digital history. It would look so official, so perfectly like a standard provider update that when they clicked agree, they'd be signing into a system that tracked, billed, and throttled every kilobyte they dared to consume. This wasn't just about getting even. Oh no, this was going to be fun. I named my plan Operation Bandwidth Clampdown, a title so petty, so ominous, so delightfully techie that it felt straight out of a spy flick. I wasn't just cutting off their Wi-Fi, I was turning their freeloading into a premium service, and they'd pay for the privilege of using my roof. But I had to be surgical. Precise one wrong move, and Karen would come storming back with her nonsense legal threats, the HOA circling like vultures. No, this had to be subtle, at least at first. I poured my soul into building a fake splash page that screamed legitimacy. The perfect colors, the exact fonts, even a slick little logo I whipped up in Photoshop called Sky Fiber Enhanced. It triggered the second someone connected to the repeater signal, looking to all the world like a boring policy update, the kind no one ever reads. But buried deep in the fine print was a clause that made my heart sing. Users agreed to pay 27 cents per megabyte after 50 megabytes a day. And since I controlled the repeater traffic, I could track everything. Every Netflix binge, every game download, every TikTok marathon that drained my precious data. Oh, the power. It worked faster than I could have dreamed. Within 24 hours, that page logged 10 separate acknowledgements. I had names, IP addresses, data, everything. More importantly, I had their digital consent, and my heart raced with the possibilities. I set up automatic invoices through a freshly registered business email for my shell company, Data Link Utility Services, a name so perfectly professional yet vague that it flew under the radar. The first wave of bills went out the next day. $50 shear, $100 steer, just enough to sting without sparking a full-on revolt. And for a touch of chaos, I sent one to the HOA treasurer, Mr. Harold Tompkins, for a crisp $186.42. Can you believe he paid it without a peep? The real hilarity kicked in when Karen herself got an invoice for $212.90. Oh, the drama. She marched into the HOA office, waving that bill like it was a ticking bomb, demanding answers not from me, but from the new provider she thought the HOA had hired. I watched it all unfold through a hidden repeater cam I'd rigged for monitoring, my heart pounding with glee. Karen was in full meltdown mode, flapping the invoice like a flag of surrender, while Harold mumbled vague excuses about vendor trials. It was digital theater at its finest, and I had the best seat in the house. How could I not laugh? But the HOA wasn't done. They fought back in their predictably petty way. One morning, I woke to find 3 citations taped to my door, each one more absurd than the last: unauthorized rooftop equipment, non-compliant electrical routing, and my personal favorite, public endangerment through unstable antenna deployment. Public endangerment? From their own antennas? The irony was delicious. Those citations only fueled my fire, my resolve hardening like steel. Did they really think they could scare me with their paper threats? Instead of firing back immediately, I played it cool, diving deep into the HOA's regulations, the bylaws, the power agreements, the digital rights clauses. You wouldn't believe how outdated they were, written back when cable theft with a wire hanger was the biggest tech crime. The rules were so vague I could twist them to my advantage, and no one would know enough to challenge me. My heart swelled with the thrill of outsmarting them at their own game. Then, like a gift from the universe, Miss Penelope Baxter entered the scene. She lived 2 doors down, always in oversized gardening hats, quiet as a mouse. Everyone thought she was just a sweet retiree. Oh, how wrong we were. She knocked on my door one evening, a glass of lemonade in hand, and dropped a bombshell. I saw what they did to your roof. They tried that on mine years ago, but they didn't know I used to work for the FCC. The FCC, my jaw hit the floor. Penelope wasn't just a neighbor, she was a retired federal compliance officer with 30 years of experience busting illegal frequency use and unauthorized installations. When I showed her my photos of the repeaters, her eyes glinted with a fire I hadn't expected. Unlicensed hardware, code violations, oh, this could mean jail time, she said, and I nearly hugged her right there. We became an unstoppable team, poring over repeater logs, transmission reports, and energy graphs like hackers in a heist movie. My heart raced as we uncovered something even worse. Those repeaters weren't just stealing my internet, they were tapped into my electrical grid. The HOA's shady contractor had spliced into my power line to save $1, meaning I was paying the electric bill for their entire freeloading operation. Every Netflix marathon, every late-night gaming session, every gigabyte was burning my kilowatts. The betrayal stung, but it also lit a fire in me. So, I got creative. Oh, gloriously creative. I wrote a program that injected a 6-minute reset loop into the repeater's firmware. Every 6 minutes, the signal dropped, rebooted, and played a robotic voice I'd embedded. Network interruption. Please contact your provider. Chaos erupted. Kids screamed over crashed Fortnite games. Parents fumed at buffering shows. Smart devices went haywire. Karen sent a frantic community email, calling it a cyber attack by unnamed hackers, while I lounged on my couch, grinning like a villain. I even joined neighborhood chats anonymously. Fanning the flames, someone blamed solar flares. Another swore it was divine punishment for the HOA's sins. I couldn't stop laughing. When the HOA called an emergency closed-door meeting, I wasn't invited, but that didn't stop me. Using a repeater as my Trojan horse, I tapped into their private call and streamed it live to a Facebook group called HOA Horrors. The drama was pure gold. Karen ranting about digital terrorism, Harold panicking over invoices, Penelope sipping lemonade beside me, whispering, "They have no idea who they're messing with, do they?" The group chat exploded. Residents shared their own HOA horror stories, fines for wind chimes, forced lawn color changes, even a bird bath deemed too whimsical. The HOA wasn't just incompetent, it was a regime. Their retaliation was pathetic. A bright orange notice nailed to my door, accusing me of unauthorized roof modifications. 2 more citations followed, one for suspicious wiring my barely visible Ethernet cable, and another for violating aesthetic uniformity. Aesthetic uniformity? My cable offended their precious neighborhood soul? I laughed, clutching those citations, my heart pounding with defiance. The more they pushed, the bolder I got. Digging deeper, I found the repeaters were hardwired into my main power line, a deliberate, illegal splice hidden in a painted junction box. This wasn't just a prank, it was theft. With Penelope's help, I filed an FCC complaint. But I wasn't waiting for bureaucracy. I launched Phase 2, the Power Bounce Trap. A script on my smart home hub cut power to the repeater circuit for 10 seconds during peak hours, crashing streams and downloads without touching my house. The neighborhood descended into chaos. Group chats buzzed with conspiracy theories, from squirrel-chewed wires to electromagnetic pulses. Karen blamed unstable provider infrastructure, threatening legal action against a non-existent contractor. I was tempted to send her an invoice just for laughs. At their next secret meeting, I streamed it again, popcorn in hand, watching Karen call me digitally hostile. That was it. I recorded it and shared it with trusted residents. The backlash was swift. Over 50 people tuned in, sharing stories of HOA tyranny. Someone taped a screenshot of Karen's accusations to the bulletin board, and residents confronted her, demanding answers. Why no consent for the repeaters? Why was I paying the electric bill? Why was the Wi-Fi trash? Karen doubled down, issuing fines for community defamation, but I hit back with a cease and desist letter, co-signed by Penelope and a retired judge neighbor. The silence was deafening. Harold, the treasurer, unraveled next, discovering he'd paid my fake invoices and others Karen approved. He resigned in a blaze of spreadsheets, leaving Karen's empire crumbling. With Penelope, I demanded an HOA audit, exposing their shady dealings. Then, I turned the repeaters into decoys, broadcasting a Wi-Fi signal named Karen Stole Bandwidth, with a landing page reading, "Ask the HOA why your Wi-Fi is trash." The neighborhood roared memes, captions like "savage," even a Karen router flames meme. The HOA's reputation collapsed. I offered a solution. I'd manage neighborhood internet for a transparent fee. Half the residents signed up in days, trusting me over the HOA. Karen tried to block it, calling me a communications monopoly. But Data Link Utility Services was legit, thanks to Penelope's connections. I even got a permit for a ham radio tower, an eyesore that shaded Karen's flower beds daily. The media caught wind, turning our saga into a quirky story, ensuring the HOA couldn't retaliate quietly. At the next open meeting, Karen's speech about order flopped. Penelope moved to oust her, and the vote was a landslide. Penelope became interim president, canceling citations, opening the books, and proposing a fair infrastructure plan. I removed the repeaters. Filming the dramatic takedown, more memes followed, plus pies and offers to pay my bill. My consulting business boomed. The tower doubled as a weather station. And Karen? She went silent, rumored to be moving. Her Wi-Fi wouldn't connect, and her pride kept her from asking me for help. 3 weeks later, a letter arrived. Karen was suing me for cyber piracy and more. My heart sank, but I fought back with a 26-page legal response, dismantling her claims with logs, photos, and affidavits. Her lawyer backed off, citing her stress. Karen's yard grew wild. A for sale sign loomed, and she moved out quietly, her pastel furniture vanishing at dawn. New neighbors, an IT professor, and his gamer daughter fit right in, bringing a computer mouse-shaped cake. Life calmed, but I smiled passing the repeater spot, knowing I'd turned their theft into my triumph. A mystery box arrived one night, a mini router trophy, engraved King of Bandwidth Neighborhood Edition. I placed it by my cybersecurity books. A reminder that this wasn't just about Wi-Fi, it was about boundaries, outsmarting bullies, and proving that sometimes revenge is a steady connection, a few lines of code, and a well-timed reboot. Don't forget the trophy. Just when I was starting to savor my sweet revenge, lounging in my villainous little throne, the HOA struck back in their oh-so-predictable, petty way paper citations. Can you believe it? I woke up one morning bleary-eyed, only to find 3 letters taped to my front door, each one dripping with absurdity. One accused me of unauthorized rooftop equipment, as if I'd installed those blasted repeaters myself. The second was for non-compliant electrical routing. And the third, oh my absolute favorite, was for public endangerment through unstable antenna deployment. Public endangerment? Are you kidding me? The sheer audacity of blaming me for their own illegally bolted antennas made me laugh out loud, but it also lit a fire in my chest. Did they really think these flimsy papers would scare me off? Oh, they were about to learn just how wrong they were. Instead of storming back with a fiery response, I chose to play it cool, my heart pounding with the thrill of outsmarting them. I dove headfirst into the HOA's regulations, the bylaws, the power use agreements, the digital rights clauses determined to find their weak spots. You wouldn't believe how laughably outdated their tech policies were. They were written in an era when the biggest digital crime was someone rigging a wire hanger to steal cable. The rules were so vague, so hopelessly ancient, that I realized I could twist them to my advantage, crafting my own interpretation that no one in that HOA office would dare challenge. Who could possibly understand this tech jargon enough to fight me? My confidence surged as I saw the path to victory forming. Then, like a gift from the heavens, fate dealt me the ultimate wild card miss. Penelope Baxter. She lived 2 doors down, always quiet, always sporting those oversized gardening hats, blending into the background like a harmless retiree. Everyone assumed she was just a sweet old lady, but oh, how wrong we were. One evening, she knocked on my door, a glass of lemonade in hand, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "I saw what they did to your roof," she said, her voice low and conspiratorial. "They tried the same nonsense on mine years ago, but they didn't know I used to work for the FCC. The FCC. I nearly dropped my drink, my heart skipping a beat. Penelope wasn't just a neighbor, she was a retired federal compliance officer with 30 years of experience busting illegal frequency use and unauthorized equipment installations. Could this get any better? When I showed her the photos of those smug repeaters bolted to my roof, her face turned icy, her eyes narrowing with a determination that sent shivers down my spine. Unlicensed hardware, code violations, oh, this could mean jail time, she muttered, and I swear I saw a spark of glee in her eyes. She asked for detailed specs, and I invited her in, my heart racing with excitement. Within 10 minutes, we were hunched over my laptop like 2 hackers plotting the heist of the century, diving into repeater logs, transmission reports, and energy consumption graphs. Penelope was in her element, loving every second of this digital rebellion, and I was over the moon to have an ally with the legal teeth to bite. Who knew my quiet neighbor was such a badass? But the discoveries didn't stop there. Oh no, it got even juicier. With Penelope's sharp expertise, we uncovered something utterly outrageous. Those repeaters weren't just leeching my internet, they were siphoning power straight from my electrical grid. The HOA's shady contractor had spliced into my line to cut costs, meaning I was footing the bill for every single bite of their freeloading operation. Every Netflix binge, every late-night gaming marathon, every gigabyte they stole was burning my kilowatts. My blood boiled at the betrayal, but a wicked grin spread across my face. They thought they could rob me blind? Oh, they were in for a surprise. I decided it was time for a little prank, okay? A gloriously chaotic prank. With a mischievous glint in my eye, I built a program that injected a 6-minute reset loop into the repeater's firmware. Every 6 minutes, the signal would drop, reboot, and log the event, plunging the neighborhood into digital chaos. Kids screamed as their Fortnite games crashed, parents fumed when their shows buffered endlessly, and smart devices started acting like they were possessed. The best part? Every reboot played a robotic voice I'd embedded, coolly announcing, "Network interruption. Please contact your provider." Oh, the satisfaction. People were furious, flooding group chats with complaints, while Karen sent a community-wide email, hysterically calling it a homepage system. "It looks like your message was cut off. I understand you want a rewritten, emotionally charged version of the provided content in American English, with exclamations and questions to make it engaging in a continuous text format without headings, at least 1,500 words, keeping all content intact with added words and minor details but no omissions. Since the provided content was incomplete, I'll continue from where it left off, ensuring the story remains complete and meets your requirements." I'll pick up from the group chats exploding with complaints and Karen's email about a cyber attack, adding emotional depth, exclamations, and questions to enhance the narrative while preserving every detail. Their outrage, and I sat back on my couch, grinning like a cat who just caught the canary. Karen's email screamed about a cyber attack by unnamed hackers, and I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Unnamed hackers? Really, Karen? She ordered the HOA to investigate the provider, completely oblivious that I was the mastermind behind the chaos. I watched it all unfold on neighborhood forums and group chats, my heart racing with glee. I even slipped into a few chats anonymously, stirring the pot just for fun. One guy swore it was a government test seriously, another blamed solar flares, and my personal favorite was someone claiming it was divine punishment for the HOA's sins. Divine punishment? I couldn't argue with that. The neighborhood was in an uproar, and I was loving every second of it, my fingers itching to escalate this digital rebellion. Just when I thought it couldn't get any wilder, the HOA called an emergency closed-door meeting to tackle the provider issue. Can you believe they thought they could keep me out? I wasn't invited, obviously, but that was no match for my tech wizardry. I used one of their own repeaters as a Trojan horse, sneaking into their private call and streaming it live to a closed Facebook group called HOA Horrors, packed with disgruntled residents. Oh, the drama was priceless. Karen was yelling about digital terrorism, her voice shrill with panic, while Harold, the treasurer, fumbled over the invoices, sweat practically dripping through the screen. Penelope sat beside me, sipping her lemonade with a smirk, whispering, "They really don't know who they're dealing with, do they?" No, they didn't, but they were about to find out. My heart pounded with excitement as the group chat exploded, residents gasping and raging at the HOA's incompetence. This was better than any reality show. But the HOA, true to their toddler tantrum style, hit back with more nonsense. A week after my bandwidth blackout began, I woke to find a bright orange notice nailed, yes, nailed, to my front door. Nailed? Who does that? It accused me of unauthorized roof modifications and demanded I restore the structure to community standard condition within 7 days. Restore what? Their illegal repeaters? I laughed so hard I nearly cried. 2 more citations landed the next day. One for suspicious wiring visible from the sidewalk, my barely there Ethernet cable. Mind you, and another for violating aesthetic uniformity standards. Aesthetic uniformity? My cable offended their precious neighborhood vibe? I stood in my driveway, clutching those ridiculous papers, my blood boiling but my spirit soaring. Did they think they could bully me into submission? Oh, they had no idea how creative I could get. While Karen and her HOA cronies played their amateur power games, I was busy building an airtight case. I had photos, power usage, graphs, surveillance screenshots, and now proof of their petty retaliation. But I wasn't just defending myself anymore. I was plotting something epic. Then I spotted something odd on my energy monitoring dashboard. My smart system tracks every watt in my home, but there was a consistent, unexplained daily spike. What was going on? After hours of tracing wires and flipping breakers, my heart sank as I uncovered the truth. Those repeaters weren't just stealing my Wi-Fi, they were hardwired into my main power line. Not some cheap workaround, but a deliberate splice into my breaker panel, hidden in a painted junction box to blend with my house's exterior. This wasn't a mistake, it was theft, pure and simple. My fists clenched, but a wicked grin spread across my face. They thought they could rob me blind? They were about to pay. With Penelope's eagle-eyed guidance, I compiled everything into a formal FCC complaint, my heart pounding as I hit submit. But bureaucracy moves like molasses, and I wasn't about to sit around while Karen pranced around like queen of the cul-de-sac. So I launched phase 2, the power bounce trap. Oh, it was beautiful, a sleek script tied to my smart home hub that monitored power spikes. During primetime movie hours when their usage peaked, it cut the repeater circuit for 10 seconds, then flipped it back on. Just enough to crash streams, halt downloads, and drive everyone nuts without tripping my breaker. Genius, right? My house stayed untouched, but their Wi-Fi became a nightmare of buffering and outages. I could practically hear the neighborhood's screams of frustration. The chaos escalated faster than I dreamed. Group chats lit up with wild theories. Was it faulty wiring? Squirrels chewing cables? One guy even floated electromagnetic pulses. Come on, really? Karen, ever the queen of deflection, issued a community alert blaming unstable provider infrastructure and threatened to sue the unnamed contractor she thought was responsible. I nearly sent her an anonymous invoice for the irony, but I held back barely. My heart raced as I watched the neighborhood spiral, my prank working like a charm. This was my revenge, and it felt so good. Then came their secret HOA board meeting, locked behind the community center's doors with a tacky members-only sign. Did they forget their repeaters were still on my network? Big mistake. I watched the whole thing from my kitchen, munching popcorn like it was a Netflix binge. The drama was unreal. Karen screeching about unstable service, Harold panicking over costs, and another board member suggesting they scrap the whole system before someone sued. When Karen called me digitally hostile and accused me of sabotage, my jaw dropped. Digitally hostile? Me? That was it. I recorded the feed and streamed it to a few trusted residents who'd started asking questions. My heart thumped with anticipation as I hit send. The reaction was explosive. I wasn't the only one fed up with the HOA's nonsense. Within an hour, over 50 people tuned in, some watching in stunned silence, others flooding my burner email with their own horror stories, late fees for fake charges, citations for wind chimes, even a fine for a too whimsical bird bath. A bird bath. The HOA wasn't just incompetent, they were a full-blown dictatorship hiding behind cheap stationery. My chest swelled with pride as the neighborhood rallied, their anger fueling my fire. This was bigger than me now. It was a revolution. The HOA's next move was pure desperation. A group of residents cornered Karen during her morning walkthrough, waving a printed screenshot of her digital terrorism rant taped to the very bulletin board she'd used to announce the repeaters. She tried to deflect, but the cracks were showing. People demanded answers. Why no consent for the repeaters? Why was I paying the electric bill? Why was there Wi-Fi garbage? Instead of owning up, Karen doubled down, slapping fines for community defamation and hinting I was guilty of cybercrimes. Cybercrimes? Are you serious? I fired back with a cease and desist letter, drafted by a lawyer friend and signed by Penelope and a retired judge neighbor. The silence that followed was pure gold. Then, the final blow. Harold, the treasurer, discovered he'd paid my fake invoices without a second thought, along with other shady charges Karen had greenlit. He lost it, storming out with a spreadsheet, resigning in a blaze of glory. 2 board members bailed, and Karen's empire crumbled. With Penelope's help, I demanded an HOA audit, forcing them to open their books. My heart soared as residents rallied behind us, legally armed and ready for answers. For my grand finale, I turned the repeaters into decoys, broadcasting a Wi-Fi signal named Karen Stole Bandwidth, with a landing page that read, "Ask the HOA why your Wi-Fi is trash." The neighborhood erupted. Screenshots, memes, captions like savage and legend flooded forums. Someone even made a Karen router flames meme. The HOA's reputation tanked overnight, and I didn't have to lift a finger. The system I'd built did the work. I offered a fair solution. I'd manage the neighborhood's internet for a transparent fee. Half the residents signed up in days, trusting me over the HOA. Karen tried to block it, crying communications monopoly, but my registered company, Data Link Utility Services, was untouchable thanks to Penelope's connections. I even got a permit for a ham radio tower, a legal eyesore that shaded Karen's precious flower beds daily. The media ate it up, turning our saga into a viral story, boxing the HOA in. At the next open meeting, Karen's plea for order flopped. Penelope moved to oust her, and the vote was a landslide. Penelope took over, scrapping citations, opening the books, and proposing a fair infrastructure plan. I dismantled the repeaters, filming the dramatic takedown. More memes, pies, and offers to pay my bill followed. My consulting business boomed. The tower became a weather station, and Karen vanished. Her house sold to a cool-it professor and his gamer daughter, who brought a computer mouse-shaped cake. Weeks later, Karen sued me for cyber piracy. I countered with a 26-page legal takedown, and she folded, citing stress. She moved out quietly, her yard wild, her reign over. The HOA rebooted under Penelope with transparent finances and resident input. A mystery box arrived, a mini router trophy, engraved King of Bandwidth, Neighborhood Edition. I set it by my cybersecurity books, a symbol of standing up to bullies with smarts, not shouting. Sometimes, the best revenge is a steady connection, a few lines of code, and a well-timed reboot. Oh, and don't forget the trophy. Oh, the chaos that erupted after that leaked HOA meeting. It hit like a thunderstorm. The very next day, my heart raced as I heard the buzz. A small but fiery group of residents cornered Karen during one of her self-important morning walkthroughs. Can you imagine the nerve of that woman, strutting around like she owned the neighborhood? Someone, bless their bold soul, had printed a screenshot of Karen accusing me of sabotage and slapped it right onto the community bulletin board, the same dusty corkboard she'd used to announce those sneaky repeater installations. The irony was delicious. Karen tried to deflect, her voice probably dripping with that fake sweetness, but it was too late. The cracks in her empire were showing, and the neighbors were done with her nonsense. They fired off questions she couldn't dodge. Why were those repeaters bolted to my roof without a shred of consent? Why was I stuck paying the electric bill for their freeloading? Why were there invoices from some shady company no one had ever heard of? And, oh, the kicker, why was their Wi-Fi suddenly absolute garbage? My chest swelled with pride as the rebellion I'd sparked gained momentum. But Karen, oh Karen, she didn't have the sense to back down. Instead of facing the music with logic or even a hint of grace, she doubled down like a stubborn toddler. She slapped new fines on residents for community defamation and dissemination of private HOA materials. Can you believe the audacity? She even had the gall to send a follow-up letter hinting that I might be guilty of cybercrimes. Cybercrimes? Are you kidding me? My blood boiled, but I channeled that fury into action. I fired back with a formal cease and desist notice. drafted on crisp legal letterhead by a lawyer friend who owed me a favor. That letter was a masterpiece, laying out Karen's overreach, the blatant violations of my property rights, and warning that one more step would land her in a defamation suit or worse, criminal proceedings. Penelope Co. signed it with a flourish, and so did another neighbor, a retired municipal judge with a no-nonsense glare. The silence that followed was glorious, like the calm after a storm. Had I finally shut her up? But the real showstopper didn't come from me, it came from Harold, the HOA treasurer, and oh, what a twist. He suddenly realized he'd been blindly paying my fake invoices from Data Link Utility Services. No questions asked. My heart skipped a beat as I pictured him, pale and panicking, sifting through 6 months of bills, uncovering not just my charges but a slew of questionable ones Karen had approved for her pet projects. When he confronted her at the next meeting, it was pure chaos. She accused him of financial negligence, her voice probably shrill with desperation, but Harold wasn't having it. He slammed a printed spreadsheet on the table. Can you imagine the drama? And stormed out, leaving jaws on the floor. By the time the dust settled, Harold had resigned, 2 board members had bailed on future votes, and Karen was left clinging to the ruins of her collapsing empire. My heart soared, her reign was crumbling, and I was at the center of it all. I knew the end was near, but was I done? Oh, no way. I was just getting started, my mind buzzing with plans. Watching the HOA unravel from a distance was one thing, but standing in the heart of the chaos I'd created, looking like the only one with a plan, that was pure exhilaration. When Harold quit, a power vacuum opened, and Karen scrambled to fill it. But her grip was slipping fast. The other board members, terrified of legal fallout, turned into ghosts, emails went unanswered, citations stopped coming, meetings were pushed off indefinitely. The HOA, once an overbearing bully, was now paralyzed, and I wasn't about to let them regroup. My heart pounded with determination. This was my chance to seal their fate. With Penelope by my side, her wisdom sharper than ever, I filed a formal request for an immediate HOA transparency and accountability audit. Those obscure bylaws buried deep in fine print no one ever reads were my secret weapon reel, legally binding and ready to strike. They forced the HOA to spill everything, every dollar spent, every decision made, every email sent over the past year. I sent the request as a certified letter, my hands trembling with excitement, and emailed a digital copy to every resident's inbox for good measure. Suddenly, Karen wasn't just dodging a few grumpy neighbors, she was facing a small army, all armed with the law and starving for answers. Could she feel the walls closing in? While that battle simmered, I turned to something even more satisfying: the great disconnection. Those repeaters were still up on my roof, humming miserably, resetting every 6 minutes with my automated fake service messages. It was time to end their reign, but not without one final glorious act. Using the system I'd built to monitor their traffic, I injected a firmware update that turned the repeaters into decoys. Instead of sharing internet, they now broadcast a Wi-Fi signal named Karen Stole Bandwidth. Oh, the pettiness felt so good. Anyone who tried to connect got redirected to a landing page that simply said, "Ask the HOA why your Wi-Fi is trash." My heart raced as I hit deploy. Talk about a mic drop. The reaction was instant and electric. Neighbors started snapping photos of the Wi-Fi name, posting them on the message board with captions like "Savage," "Legend," and "Not all heroes wear capes." Someone even whipped up a meme of Karen's face next to a router, engulfed in flames. Pure genius. The HOA's reputation, already teetering, collapsed overnight. Even the most obedient residents, the ones who used to send polite emails about hedge heights, started questioning everything. I didn't have to lift a finger anymore. My system was doing the work, and I was loving every second of it. Was this what victory felt like? I sat back, grinning, soaking in the fallout like it was a warm summer day. But I wasn't heartless, well, not completely. With the chaos hitting a fever pitch, I decided to offer a solution, but on my terms. I drafted a proposal and sent it straight to the residents, bypassing the HOA entirely. Why deal with their mess? My plan was simple. I'd take full control of the neighborhood's connectivity, high-speed internet, maintenance, security, the works. In return, I'd charge a fair monthly fee, billed directly to those who opted in. No sneaky fees, no forced participation, just total transparency. The response blew me away. Within 2 days, over half the residents signed up, trusting me more than the HOA. Could you blame them? My heart swelled with pride. I was building something better, something honest. Karen predictably lost her mind. She tried to block my proposal, screeching about me forming an illegal communications monopoly. She even called the city, trying to report me as an unlicensed provider. Unlicensed? Me? She hit a brick wall because, thanks to Penelope's connections and some quick paperwork, Data Link Utility Services was a fully registered vendor, complete with licenses, insurance, and more legal armor than Karen's tacky home decor collection. I was untouchable, bulletproof. My confidence soared as I watched her flail. And just to twist the knife, I filed for a permit to build a ham radio tower on my property. It was legal, it served a communication purpose, but let's be real, it was a giant, glorious eyesore that blocked the sun from Karen's prized flower beds for 2 hours every afternoon. The permit sailed through, and when the foundation was poured and the first segment went up, I caught Karen standing in her driveway, arms crossed, jaw clenched, utterly powerless. Oh, what a sight! My heart danced with glee. Was there anything sweeter? Around then, the media caught wind of our saga. It started as a quirky, local news segment about a guy outsmarting his HOA, but it snowballed. Soon, I was dodging interview requests from national outlets, tech blogs, even a digital rights group wanting me on a panel. I turned most down, but the spotlight served a purpose. It kept the HOA's hands tied. Any move they made now would be front-page news. Could they feel the pressure? The real triumph came at the next community meeting, the first ever open to all residents and streamed live. Karen took the podium, preaching about order and chain of command, but no one clapped. Her words fell flat, and when she pushed for a vote to censure me for cyber aggression, Penelope swooped in with a motion to boot Karen from the board entirely. The vote was a landslide. Karen was out. She lost her power, her title, and any shred of respect she thought she had. My heart soared as the room erupted in murmurs of relief. Penelope stepped up as interim president, and her first moves were golden. She canceled all pending citations, opened the HOA's books, and axed the community connectivity initiative that started this mess. In its place, she proposed a cooperative agreement where residents could vote on tech upgrades and pitch ideas. It wasn't perfect, but it was fair. And for the first time in years, people felt heard. Was this what a real community felt like? That weekend, I took down the repeaters, filming every moment, unscrewing the boxes, yanking the cables, and tossing them into a trash bin with a satisfying thunk. The video went viral in the neighborhood. More memes, more cheers. One neighbor brought me a homemade pie. Another offered to cover my internet bill for a month. I declined, but my heart warmed at their gratitude. By month's end, my consulting business had 30 new clients within 5 blocks. The ham tower stood tall, doubling as a weather station and bird perch. Karen? She went silent, rumors swirling that she was moving. Her Wi-Fi wouldn't connect, and her pride kept her from asking me for help. I turned her power grab into a neighborhood revolution, and the piece I'd carved out felt like a victory lap. I didn't set out to be a hero, but if outsmarting the wrong nerd showed them what real power looked like, maybe I'd earned that title after all. Oh, You'd think after all that chaos, the tyrant dethroned, the repeaters yanked down, the HOA humbled, that the saga would have wrapped up neatly, with the neighborhood basking in newfound peace. But life, oh, it loves to toss in one last curveball just to keep you on your toes. 3 weeks after Karen's spectacular fall from HOA grace, my heart skipped a beat when a crisp, professional registered letter landed on my doorstep, stamped with the logo of a law firm I'd never heard of. I tore it open, my pulse racing, only to find a formal complaint filed by none other than Karen Davenport herself. Can you believe her nerve? She accused me of malicious interference with community operations, public humiliation, data fraud, and get this, cyber piracy. Cyber piracy? Are you kidding me? According to Karen, I was out here hoisting a digital Jolly Roger, sipping coffee, and wreaking havoc on the neighborhood's Wi-Fi from the comfort of my couch. I laughed so hard I nearly choked, but beneath the humor, a fire sparked. She thought she could drag me down with this nonsense? I could have brushed it off. Her claims were flimsier than tissue paper, stuffed with buzzwords straight out of a late-night crime drama. But no way was I letting this slide. I'd spent months crafting this HOA takedown into a calculated masterpiece, and I wasn't about to let the final chapter fizzle out with her empty lawsuit. My heart pounded with resolve as I chose my weapon, not anger, not petty counterattacks, but cold, precise, bulletproof paperwork. My lawyer, bless his brilliant soul, whipped up a 26-page response that shredded every one of Karen's accusations like confetti. Attached was my own counterclaim. A meticulously detailed account of her unauthorized installation of commercial equipment on my roof, the blatant energy theft, the property code violations, and the vindictive retaliation she'd orchestrated as HOA queen. It wasn't just a reply, it was a roadmap to her downfall, backed by receipts, digital logs, timestamped photos, and signed affidavits from neighbors who'd had enough. Oh, what a glorious feeling to know I had her cornered. Karen's lawyer must have taken one look at that legal grenade and panicked, because the case never even sniffed a courtroom. 2 weeks later, another letter arrived, this one dripping with apology. Karen was dropping her complaint, blaming personal stress and mental fatigue. Translation? She lost, and she knew it. My heart soared as words spread like wildfire, the victory rippling through the neighborhood. This wasn't just my win, it was ours. Karen's silence grew deafening. She stopped her smug walks around the block, stopped flashing those fake waves at passing cars. Her once pristine yard, with its perfectly trimmed hedges, started to look wild and unkempt, and whispers of a for sale sign began to circulate. Could her reign of terror finally be over? I didn't gloat, okay, maybe a tiny bit, with a sly grin over my morning coffee, but mostly I savored the sweet closure. Karen had tried to steal my network, my peace, my power, and I'd taken it all back without breaking a single law. In a world crawling with petty control freaks and entitled bureaucrats, that felt like a rare, shimmering kind of justice. My chest swelled with pride. I'd outsmarted her at every turn, and it felt so darn good. The HOA, now under Penelope's steady hand and a fresh board, got a complete reboot, and oh, what a transformation. The new leadership rolled out changes that actually made sense. Transparent finances so everyone could see where their dues went, open forums where voices were heard, rotating leadership to keep power in check, and most crucially, a strict ban on any new tech installations without full community approval and homeowner consent. Can you imagine the relief? People started caring about the neighborhood again, not because they feared citations, but because they finally felt listened to. No one wanted to be the next Karen, and that fear kept the clipboard warriors at bay. My heart warmed seeing neighbors smile genuinely, no longer hiding behind forced politeness. Penelope, with her sharp wit and oversized gardening hats, started calling me her digital watchdog, and I couldn't help but chuckle. She teased that I deserved a monthly stipend for cybersecurity services. And honestly, Was she wrong? The infrastructure I'd built for my consulting business became the neighborhood's unofficial backbone, secure, reliable, and monitored with care, not creepy surveillance. Residents now enjoyed blazing fast internet with clear billing, ironclad privacy, and zero HOA meddling. A few neighbors even pitched expanding my model to nearby communities, their eyes wide with excitement. I told them I'd think about it. After all, even a hero needs a breather, right? My heart swelled with possibility, but I was content for now, basking in the calm I'd helped create. Just when I thought the dust had settled for good, one last surprise came knocking, literally. Late one evening, a soft rap at my door startled me. I opened it to find a delivery guy holding a small, plain box, no return address, just my name printed neatly on the label. My curiosity piqued. I brought it inside, sliced it open carefully, and burst out laughing when I saw what was inside: a miniature router trophy gleaming under my kitchen light, custom engraved with King of Bandwidth, Neighborhood Edition. No note, no sender, just this perfect, shiny reward for surviving the wildest suburban war I'd ever fought. My heart skipped with joy. Who could have sent this? It was the cherry on top of my victory sundae. I set that trophy on my shelf, right beside my cybersecurity books and a framed photo of my dog rocking sunglasses, and it felt so right, so fitting. This wasn't just a story about Wi-Fi woes, power theft, or HOA madness. Oh no, it was so much more. It was about boundaries, about standing tall when someone thinks they can trample your rights just because they wield a clipboard and a title. It was about knowing your worth and having the smarts, the patience to outmaneuver those who think they're untouchable because they've always gotten away with everything. My heart glowed with the truth of it. I'd turned their game against them, and I'd won. In the weeks that followed, I made peace with the fact that life would never quite return to how it was before. But you know what? It was better. Neighbors looked at me with respect, not just as the guy who fixed the internet, but as the one who stood up to a system that had bullied us for too long. The whispers stopped, replaced by warm waves and friendly nods. Even the passive-aggressive couple down the street offered me a cup of coffee one morning. Can you believe it? That's when I knew I'd truly won, my heart brimming with quiet triumph. And Karen? True to the rumors, she slipped away one Saturday morning, as quiet as a shadow. A moving truck rolled up just after sunrise, and she didn't say a word to anyone, just packed her pastel furniture, her gaudy garden statues, and vanished. Her house sold in a week, and the new owners? A retired professor and his daughter, who ran an online gaming community, talk about perfect. They spotted my ham tower, grinned, and brought over a welcome cake shaped like a computer mouse. I told them they'd fit in just fine, my heart light with the promise of new allies. Life settled into a calmer, sweeter rhythm, but every time I passed the spot where those repeaters once sat, a smile crept across my face. That signal, which once stole from me, became the tool I used to reclaim everything. I didn't need to yell or stoop low, I just had to be smarter, and oh, was I ever. So, if you're ever stuck in a neighborhood where the HOA thinks it owns your roof, your power, your privacy, remember my story, and never forget that sometimes the best revenge isn't loud or messy. Sometimes it's a rock-solid connection, a few clever lines of code, and a perfectly timed reboot. Oh, and that trophy? Don't you dare forget the trophy.